I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm going to give it to you straight about Jason.
Hello, 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 Sabres Nation, and welcome to the Warpath crossover podcast. My name's Jason Malloy at JDon'tFade on Twitter. Go ahead, give me a follow. We're going to go ahead and get a page started as well. On a side note, before we get started, we're going to go ahead and get a page started for the Warpath crossover podcast as well. We'll have my logo up there, the beautiful Jason mask with the Sabres logo, even more beautiful on there. No slugs, of course. We don't like the slug logo around here, or really anywhere. I don't know if anybody likes the slug logo. I think I liked it when it came out. Quick sidebar. I think my favorite jersey of all time is the red alternate with the two Sabres right across the chest. And they're going to be bringing back that or a variation of that this year at least, which is going to be cool to see. But let's get started because we got a lot of news going on in Sabres land right now, and at least a lot more to come, I'd say, right? We had the draft just come by. A lot of new Sabres. A lot of exciting ones, too. A lot of ones that were pre-mocked, actually. I was looking at a lot of pre-mocks from a lot of the NHL analysts, experts, and some of the mocks were really dead on with the Sabres and, where they were going, and maybe someone had an inside sight to Kevin Adams or just something going on there with the other teams trying to push to think maybe make him question himself or whatnot, but he was sure of himself. He had another good draft, and we're going to go ahead and go over the first-round picks, excluding Matthew Savoy, because we already went over him extensively in the video that I released earlier this week. Thank you for watching that. Go ahead, give us a follow, like, and subscribe there at Mafia Sports Report, as well as on Twitter. We get that new page out for Warpath Crossover Podcast, and give me a follow at JDon'tFade. I also do betting picks, so you get a lot of good bets, and we can make some cash together too, so that'll be awesome, right? Make some cash, watch some hockey, and drink some beers. It's all life's about, really, right, at the end of the day, so, and family, of course. But anyways, let's get started. We're going to talk about the first-round picks, there was three, right? So we'll talk about the next two after Matthew Savoy, probably be the most exciting, of course, but we'll talk about the next two. And we'll also talk about the sole second-round pick that the Sabres had, the singular second-round pick, that is. Pretty interesting pick, I'd have to say. Not interesting in the sense that, who thought they'd take a goalie, but, interesting in the sense of, who he is, right? And we'll go over him a little bit. I had a little trouble finding stats on him and kind of, some tape and whatnot, but I was able to find a couple of different things on him, being that he was the top-ranked goalie, which is pretty cool, especially among European prospects. I do like European prospects. I know everybody doesn't. Everybody does, but I like Canadians too, but not that I'm bullish on Americans or anything, but, I have my likes and dislikes, and that's just kind of my preference here. So let's go ahead and go over, we're going to go over again, real quick, we're going to go over the two first-round picks that preceded Matthew Savoy, the first actual pick, and then we're going to go over the second-round pick, and then we're going to dive in free agency just a little bit, because I know free agency is coming up. I just want to give my takes on some things, combinations. We're going to see how it all shakes out. I really don't touch too much on free agency. I don't even think too much about it, to be honest with you, because the Sabres are still rebuilding, and Kevin Adams just kind of came out with we're not going to spend a lot of money type of speech, and not so many words or more words than that, but we'll go over who I'd like to see, our dream picks, right? And this will be premiering tonight at 10:45, so you guys can go on there, live chat, talk about it, discuss amongst each other. And I might jump in there a little bit too and go back and forth with you guys as well and see what you think while we're watching it, right? So let's go ahead and get into the first pick that preceded Mr. Savoy, and that is Noah Ostlund, a guy that I know a lot of people really liked. Personally, I liked him as well. We'll take a look at his Elite Prospects page. I'm going to go ahead and go over some of his numbers here. And Elite Prospects, that's really my go-to for a lot of things, as you may have told from Mark. But let's go ahead and go over them. Clearly, the Sabres are going with a common theme here. They took another center after Matt Savoy. Coming in at 5'11", 165 pounds, 181 centimeters, 75 kilograms, for the metric side of our fan base. Of course, Toronto's right there, so there's probably not too many in this area, but we'll go ahead and take a peek at his numbers. So his most recent numbers, and just let's go over his team that he played for. And I'm going to say it wrong. Actually, I might not, because it's actually probably pronounced just like it looks. And that's Desjardins IF. He also played for the Sweden national team. No shocker there. Most of these guys do. So most recently, he played 32 games for Desjardins. He had 42 points. We like to see that. And here's the other one. We've touched on this. 9 goals, 33 assists. So he's a guy that's probably got good hands, good feeding. So we read his little tidbits here about what he is. I'm sure they're going to mention his hands and his vision, which is important, of course, for a centerman. In the playoffs this year, 5 games, 5 goals, 2 assists. So at that point, he stepped it up a little bit more. And here's the more important part, plus 30 on the season, guys, plus 30. So when on the ice, they scored 30 more goals than they let up while he was on the ice, which is important, right? It means he's probably a decent two-way player as well, or at least his line mates were, and they helped elevate him or he elevated them. So both are good. They're both positives. For the Sweden national team, important too, because you're playing against the top young guys in the world. 15 games, 13 points, 5 goals, 8 assists. -1. Of course, there's not always great chemistry there, but it's not like an egregious number like -30, -10. Actually, if you look at his stats throughout the years, since tracking all the way goes back to 2017, when he plays for Södertage, SK in Sweden, plus minus looks really good. I think he's only got two different teams he played on throughout the years, and that's out of 10 different years with the same teams or different teams that he had. Plus, you know what I mean. This was clearly his best year when he played for the 20 U team of Desjardins, and he had plus 30. But either way, it looks good. He had a -1 with Sweden, but of course chemistry is different there. Those guys aren't playing together year round, not like he was with Desjardins. So chemistry is a little bit off there, but it's still not an egregious number, -1. And in total, he played for the World Juniors for 18 as well. He played for the International Juniors, right? So he also played World Juniors, and he was a 3 for that, right? And he had 6 games and 10 points there, right? Pretty even on the goals and assists there. He had 4 and 6 helpers, 4 goals, 6 apples, total of 10 points. Looks good. I like it. Let's read his tidbits here, and we'll jump into our next pick, our last pick of the first round. So here's a couple of quotables we got here for him. His hockey sense, work ethic, and skill level makes him stand out. He makes all his line mates better. That's what I just touched on, right? So I figured we'd see something along those lines. He has the best hockey sense of all 22. Let me read that again. He has the best hockey sense of all 2022 NHL draft prospects. A world-class playmaker and a shifty, what did I tell you? A shifty stick handler. So he's got good hands. He's got good vision, right? Important things to have, especially when you're playing with a younger team. He's going to be one of the younger guys, but younger team. Help get the puck to your skilled guys. Let them take over and use their talent and what their common places with the NHL and how it's being played today, and they'll teach you. You know what I mean? They'll guide you. You guide them to the net. They'll guide you from there, right? So, veteran leadership is always good. We have some of that on this team, thankfully now. So, we also have he plays with intensity and is always on the move. He has equal parts creativity with a high-end work rate. High-end work rate, good. He sounds like a Sabre, right, guys? Like he sounds like one of the guys from last year, right? Like puts in work, works hard, isn't gonna be the super flashy guy. Now, can he be? Sure, he can be. But is he gonna be the super flashy guy if it hurts his team? No, he's not. He's gonna feed the puck. He's gonna stick handle. He's gonna get plays. He's gonna make plays for other guys. He's gonna get guys other chances to plays. Important shit stuff. Sorry. Last one, very skilled forward, always reading the play off the puck and putting in effort to disrupt plays, flawless all-around game. Love to hear that. I like this part too, and flawless all-around game is great, but like always reading the play off the puck. So like he knows where he's going with the puck before he goes there, or he knows what's available or what could be available or where he's going to look at least, whether it's open or not, is what comes with. That's what comes with the speed of the game and the time. Those are the things those kids learn, but they have the raw skills to be able to develop that talent, pick up that trait, and be able to be even better at that. That's important. Let's jump into our next pick here. Jiri Kulich was selected. Let's go ahead and get into his elite prospects page. Jiri Kulich. And let's see here. Another huge shocker. Sabres centerman coming in at 6 foot, 179 pounds, 182 centimeters, 81 kilograms for the metric fan base. Metric side of our fan base. He is from Czech. Let's go ahead and take a look at his numbers this recent year. Okay. If it's to cooperate today, and it looks like it does. Thank you. So most recent year, okay, he played for HC, a bunch of different teams, but HC Energy, It was the most games he played. 49, and this is kind of strange, right? So 49 games, 14 points, 9 goals, 5 assists. So not so great. But then you look at his juniors this year when he played with the international junior team. 16. And this is probably what helped to get him drafted in the first round because he was a later first round pick, but still to sneak into the first, maybe from the second or late second, early third, was he played in 16 games, had 22 points, 17 goals, 5 assists. Plus minus not that great, -2. 7 on the year when he played with HC Energy, Carlo Vivari. But I like his international juniors numbers, right? Let's go ahead and read his quotables. The Czech forward is moving in every direction on the ice with great speed. Good. Using boards for sneaky maneuvers, and he was far the best skater. He was by far, that's what they mean. He was by far the best skater on the ice in every game I have seen so far. It's cool. It's from an Elite Prospects scout as well, so not like a homer. He works smart with the boards, with either sending the puck out of the defensive zone or just making a pass. Zone entries also didn't seem like a problem for him. That's really important, guys. Like that last part. Zone entries also didn't seem like a problem for him because we have a lot of problems entering the zone, and I don't know if it's. And I tried to watch last year, and I don't know if it's coming from a strategic standpoint or from a skill standpoint. I think it might be a mixture of both, honestly, because dump and chase doesn't work with this team, right? But a lot of times they go to the end of the zone, they just get stripped of the puck. So they need a better way to do that. So if adding a guy like this, where zone entries aren't a problem, he can put that onto his other playmates or his other teammates as well. Playmates, I guess. Other teammates as well. And at least adapt in the system. So if, Donnie Meatballs Denegranado is calling up a certain way for them to enter the zone and it's not being done correctly, this is a guy that can help to assist that, in the years coming when he gets up. Of course, he's a later first round pick, so he'll spend a year, maybe 2 in Rochester before he even sniffs the Sabres. But we'll see what happens with that, right? I think if it comes to it, I think there's one guy that has a chance to make the team out of camp. It's probably Matt Savoy, and I don't even think that he does that because I'm just hoping at this point that Jack Quinn makes the team out of camp. So we'll see what happens. That's another guy I did want to get into real quick. Not Jack Quinn, I'm sorry. The last pick, so the last pick of what we're going to go over, which is the only pick and the sole pick of the second round, which was a guy that we wanted to address. I saw a lot of guys in the live comments wanted to address, was Tobias Leinonen. I think it's Leinonen, but Tobias Leinonen. He's Swede, I believe. Yep. No, I'm sorry. He's Switzerland. The Swiss guy. So good chocolate, right? So I'm going to read over. I couldn't find a lot of his stats, but he was the first goalie and the highest ranked goalie taken. So you can't say they didn't address goalie in the draft because he took the best goalie. Now they got him in the second round. Like I had mentioned, goalies don't really go in the first round, unless they're these amazing, gonna be amazing goalies. Like a Carter Hart was a pretty high prospect. Guys like that, Rick DiPietro, really high prospect, right? Guys like that, guys that are gonna be great. They know what's gonna happen. Carter Hart is the bag's still out of him. Rick DiPietro is a pretty damn good goalie, I'd say. At least for my time, right? As a kid when I was watching him play, but he was great. So I'm going to read over just some of an article here that we had. This is an article from this is Buffalo News. Okay, so article from the Buffalo News from Rachel Lindsay. Give her some credit there. So Rachel Lindsay wrote this article, came out a couple days ago. Clearly following, the draft. So the first thing she writes is Leinonen is the first goalie taken in the 2020 draft. I already get that information out. She's got some numbers here for him, though, right? So Leinonen was a top-ranked goalie among European prospects, which is awesome. Like I said, I like European projects. 9.16 save percentage. That's good. 2.28 goals against. Very good. That was in 22 games with the JYP under 20 team in Swiss, I'm guessing. Leinonen also helped to – I'm going to have to get that right. Leinonen also helped Finland win the bronze medal at the 2022 Under-18 World Championship. However, in 4 games in the Finnish Elite League, the country's top league, Leinonen had an 8.2 save percentage and 5.02 goals against average. That's really not very good. It's only 4 games, of course, so it's a small sample size, but that's 20 goals. That's not very good, guys. So something that we'll have to look at. So the guy has size, stands tall. I like that because I feel like we haven't had a really tall, big, we had Robin Leonard, but since Ryan Miller always seemed to me, it's because I was a kid, but he seemed huge whenever I go to the games and see him. So the 18-year-old brings a fit. He's very young again, too, guys. 18. The 18-year-old Leinonen brings a physically imposing figure to the net. At 6'5", 223 pounds, which also means that as a young goalie, he still has room to grow physically and skill-wise. So this guy could get bigger, right? He could get bigger. He could bulk up, which is what they tell all their draft picks to do regardless. Scouting reports have noted that his agility and speed are also strong assets style of play. So this is a guy that is an athlete, right? So he's a bigger guy, but he's still very quick, right? And he's probably got some strength, I'd imagine, right? At 6'5", 233. That's me, but he's probably got a lot more muscle than I do. I'm about 260-ish, so probably not as strong as the guy, even though he's 18. Maybe I am. Who knows? Leinonen is the latest Sabre in the habit of stacking goalies. Again, we have UPL, Devin Levi, Eric Portillo. We'll have to see what happens with Devin. Devin Levi, they got to get him. That was a Rhino trade, man. It's like this is what they got in the Rhino trade. So, like, we need to get him, right? So he needs to be signed. That's the discussion for another day, hope and a prayer. Eric Portillo, I really don't know because I think at the end of the summer, I'm pretty sure he has the choice to go wherever the hell he wants. He never signed, and like people are kind of like, oh, well, it's an okay thing because it's a load of crap. It's not an okay thing. We wanted him to sign this year, and he didn't sign. It's not a good thing. So we just have to hope at this point. Devin Levi, I get it, go back, but like I would have liked to get him back in the system, and I don't understand why he didn't want to come in because, like, dude, the job was gonna be yours out of camp, in my opinion. Like you were gonna, not the job in the NHL, of course, the job in Rochester was gonna be yours. Because UPL is going to be up with the big league club this year, unless they're like going to go out and do one of the things I want them to do, which we'll talk about in a second in free agency. But yeah, like I don't understand that. So I'm not going to sit here and tell myself like, yeah, sugarcoat, like it's good. Like Eric Portillo not signing is great, and that's not good. Like it's something we wanted to happen. It didn't happen, sadly. So let's go ahead and jump into free agency though. The draft was exciting, right? We'll go ahead and jump in. Let's see what we got here. And my guess is, before we even get the line combinations and whatnot, Owen Power does make the team out of camp is my guess. That's, of course, my guess and my hope. We'll see what happens, though, right? Jumping into free agency. So let's go over the Sabres' current lines. And we went over this a couple times last last live session, which was the draft. However, we've got Jeff Skinner let's go with the centerman first. This is just the current lines they had as of the last game of the year, which is against Chicago again. Big dub in that game, I believe, if I remember it correctly. I watch so many sports games now. It's like they all mix together. But either way, first line is centered by Tage Thompson with Jeff Skinner on the left flank. Victor Olofsson on the right flank. Second line was centered by Dylan Cousins, who had a helper in that game. Alex Tuck on the left flank. Casey Middlestat on the right flank, who had a goal in that game. Third line is centered by Zemgus Girgensson. Left flank is Vinny Hinostroza. I said that right the first time. Right flank, Rasmus Asplund. Fourth line, John Hayden, one of my little fan favorites. Tough, really classic hockey player. I like him, but can get down and do some stuff too. With a decent shot. Anders Bjork on the left flank. Make or break year for him, even though probably last year was and he broke. Peyton Krebs, the young kid on the right. Mr. Mitts, Mr. Hands, Mr. Dangly out of your socks, Peyton Krebs, big piece, the young piece, in addition to Alex Tuck in the Eichel return, of course. Peyton Krebs on the right flank. The defensive pairings were Matthias Samuelsson, Rasmus Dahlin, Henry Jokiharju, and Owen Power, and Mark Pysyk, who is back, and Jacob Bryson, who is back, just signed a deal, actually. And the goalies, we know who that was, of course. So hopefully they're not the starters this year. So we'll jump into free agency. I'm going to go over my top free agents so far, who's going to be available. Remember, some of these guys have signed as well. So let's see what we got. The top free agent's pretty consistent across the board. That's Johnny Hockey, Johnny Gaudreau, 82 games, 115 points, 40 goals, 75 helpers. Guy can do everything. He's a really good hockey player. Some people even, like, he's a smaller guy, but like some people say like, oh, he's a flash in the pan. When you don't put 115 points up as a flash in the pan player. He's an amazing player. If the Sabres can somehow even get him to look their way, throw him whatever he wants. Give him a check. Write the check for yourself, Johnny. 6 years, 8 years, whatever you want, man. Go ahead, do it. Like, I want that guy bad. He's 28. Like, he's the very, very prime free agency. One of the better ones I can think to hit the market in a while. Either way, I'd love to get him. Next one is an interesting one because the Sabres have the money to get a guy like this, but he's a guy that isn't really loved around the league because he's got like a dirty reputation, whatever. But Nazem Kadri, 31, almost 32. He'll be 32 when the season starts. 87 points, 28 helpers, 28 goals, 59 helpers, 71 total points, or 71 games played, 87 points. So he was a point per game player this year. Interesting guy. He's a centerman. We'll have to see what happens with that. Claude Giroux, older guy, 34, more for a team that I think, in my opinion, is like pushing for a cup this year, right? Because he had 65 points in 75 games last year. But he's an older guy. Patrice Bergeron is a guy that I'd love to sign, but he's apparently has said, and he's doubled down. I guess we'll see what happens. That he's either going to be a Bruin or he's not going to play at all. He's going to retire. So we'll see. But that'd be a really cool guy, right? 73 points, 65 or 73 games, 65 points. Definitely a Hockey Hall of Fame guy. So we'll see what happens. Next one is Andrei Burakovsky. He has, and again, some of these guys may be signing because they are signing deals like actively as we're like, this is the deadline that we're on right now, so they could be signing as I'm talking. But 80 games played, 61 points, 22 goals, and 22 goals and 39 helpers for the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. The next one is an interesting one I really like too. However, I don't like him for us. He's a guy that's 34, more for people that are pushing for a cup, and that is left winger, left flank, David Perron, 67 games played, 57 points, 27 goals, 30 helpers. The next one's an interesting one, though. And that is, and again, these guys could be signed, but Ryan Strome, another Ranger after I'll mention him now, Andrew Kopp. Two guys, 53 and 54 points, both played about the same amount of games, both centermen, both young, 28, 29. So, I mean, they could have 4 or 5 more years. So you can give them a 3 or 4 year deal and still feel good about it, you know. It's the money they'll command, though. And another guy, someone that's pushing for a cup, right? He has 52 points, 82 games, played every game, though, Phil Kessel. The next guy is the guy I think I like the most. And not that I like the most. The guy I like the most is the guy that we're probably not going to sign, which is Johnny Hockey. The guy I like second most is probably Evgeny Malkin, and that's a guy that I'd love to see sign, but I don't know that he's leaving to come to a team that's just finishing or even still just finishing, is in the process of trying to finish or is just finishing a rebuild. That's Evgeny Malkin. But Vincent Trocheck, 29-year-old centerman, 5'10", 183, right-handed shot. 81 games last year, 51 points, 21 goals, 30 helpers. A guy that I think can really help this. We've got a lot of young centermen, not only like at the Sabres, but in the organization now. Look, we just drafted 3 in the first round. We need a guy that can lead them, which is almost why I want to go with Evgeny Malkin, because it's a guy that can show him. But he's again a guy there's a guy that you want, like an older veteran guy that can still put up points, has some health issues, but is an elite player still. That is Evgeny Malkin if you're trying to push for a cup. So maybe a team like LA signs him, or like Edmonton would make sense to sign him, like somewhere like that. But like we'll see what happens with him. Another guy that I really like is a guy that people probably don't like, but Evander Kane. Guy had 43 games, 39 points, point per game player. I love him. He's a grinder. I've always loved him. I would bring him back to Buffalo with open arms, and I would give him whatever he wants for money. Nothing crazy, of course, but I'd give him a decent amount of money. I like him. I don't know that he'll be back here, though. He seemed to love the fan base, but I don't know that he loved the place. I've heard strange reviews of him from like personal friends too, that like apparently met him or something like that, like a friend that dated him. Like it was just whatever, but I like the guy. He's cool. Evan Rodriguez is a free agent, right? 82 points, 43 games. I'm sorry, 43 points. I got to get that right. 43 points, 82 games. Just reading the stats left to right in the site that I'm using. Spot Track, of course. Riley Smith's a free agent. That's an interesting guy. He's 31, 56 games, 38 points. I mean, there's a lot of – people will tell you there's not a lot of key free agents. There are tons of key free agents that will make this team better. Now, are there a lot of free agents that will make the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Colorado Avalanche or even the Edmonton Oilers better? Probably not. Maybe with the Oilers, but like there's a lot of guys that can make our team better, and like our team a playoff team or a fringe playoff team that's like playing meaningful games when it's getting warm outside, you know what I mean, rather than just like, all right, playing those moral victories or like getting those bits of excitement like we got last year. Like let's play games that mean something. Like let's try and win shit. Let's try and do stuff, stuff. Exactly. But those are the guys I like. Like those are just a list of guys to think about. Really don't want to talk too much more about because the Sabres they're so unexpected. Like you don't know what to say about free agency anymore. Like they have tons of money. They could probably go out and sign any one of these guys or a number. They could probably sign Johnny Gaudreau, Evgeny Malkin, Vincent Trocheck. They could sign all the guys I wanted to sign, right, and still have money left over, but they won't, right? So like we'll see what happens. But you got to be smart with your money. Like I'm not lobbying for going out and doing that. I'm lobbying for going out and getting a Vincent Trocheck. Thinking about the future now. Like you've got the money now. Vincent Trocheck, Evander Kane. One of the two, Ryan Strome, Andrew Kopp. I'm more for Ryan Strome personally. Tad bit older, right? But like maybe a Nazem Kadri if you plan on like. There's a lot of guys you can go out and get. I want to talk about one more position before we wrap it up, and that's goaltender. There's not a lot of. I will agree with that. There's not a lot of prime goaltenders out there. You've really got like maybe one that's like the top guy that people are going to get, and that is Darcy Kemper. Darcy Kemper just won a Stanley Cup. 9.21, or I'm sorry, 0.921 save percentage. What does he want to get though? And is he going to leave? Is he going to leave a place like where he's at now? Is he going to leave where he just won a Stanley Cup, or is he going to take a team-friendly deal to stay there? Or does Colorado even have the money to spend on him? You know what I mean? They just signed Nichushkin to a deal, right? 8 years, $49 million, I believe. Not cheap. They already have a lot of talented guys. They got a lot of guys that are on deals. You know what I mean? That are getting paid money. Well, they're all getting paid money, but good money, right? Let's take a look at the Dubs last year. Jack Campbell's a guy. He's a UFA. He must have something was going on with him though. Mikko Koskinen, that's an interesting one. Ilya Samsonov, Martin Jones in Philly. I mean, these are guys that are like, yes, they're better than we had last year. Like Braden Holtby, that's an interesting one. He's 32 though. Like I want a guy that can, like, if we're gonna plan on having like David Rich, that's a cool one. Of course, he's not too great. I want to look at the save percentage leaders. Yeah, like Darcy Kemper is the best name on this list. That, or like maybe Martin Jones. Halak is far too old. Just trying to look at like the games played leader. It's just everything points to Darcy Kemper, but they're not going to do it. But who knows? They tried to bring in Gru last year, Philip Grubauer, and he had other plans, but they tried, right? So like maybe they are willing to spend big money on a goalie. Doesn't always work out. Doesn't really work out most of the time, but something that I think this team has the money to do, so why not take a shot on a guy? I'm not saying Darcy Kemper is going to be the next Ryan Miller, but like he's a guy that can win some games. And like this last year, these kids were getting games stolen from them because the goaltending was absolute shit. It was dog shit. Fucking trash. Like it just was not good. So like it's got to be better, right? We are a family-friendly show. I just get a little worried about hockey sometimes. But yeah, guys, so we got free agency. That's what we got for the draft. Go ahead, follow us. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and get the Warpath podcast started up here soon. Well, not the podcast, but the Twitter page started up here soon. So go ahead, give us a follow. We're going to get that all set up, and follow at Jay Don't Fade. And of course, Mafia Sports Report. Check us on YouTube. Give us a like, follow, subscribe, and we will see you next week, folks. Monday, get excited, and we're going to go ahead. If something crazy goes on with free agency hockey, expect to see a video from me here. Probably excited, jumping for joy. But anything that goes on free agency, I'll try and recap too. So like I know free agency is coming up, and our next show's not till Monday. But we'll go ahead and if something crazy comes up, or even a slew of signings, interesting signings, we'll talk a little bit about them, and then we'll get the rest on the show. Some of the smaller ones, or even some that maybe is coming out of the break at that point. If it happens on Sunday or on Saturday, like over the weekend. We'll go ahead and cover it on Monday, of course. But until then, Sabre Nation, you stay classy, and let's go Buffalo, right? So go ahead, Warpath Podcast out. You guys have a good one, guys.